Good evening, gentlemen. My name is G. Sekhar. I am from Hindustan Institute of Maritime Training, Chennai. So, in this presentation, for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I am going to highlight what are the latest measures taken by International Maritime Organization for reducing the greenhouse gas emission. MEPC had its 76th meeting June 2021, 77th meeting end of 2021, and the latest one, MEPC 78, was conducted June 2022. So the greenhouse gas emission reduction, how IMO is now looking at, and how the issue is going on. That's what I'm going to just show it to you. My focus is going to be more on IMO's MEPC 78, which was concluded in the month June 2022. So the latest measures and review was done in 78 Marine Environmental Protection Committee of IMO. So basically, we all know as of now, IMO is more towards developing new technologies for greener shipping, as you can see in this slide. So, greener shipping, decarbonization of shipping industry. These are the main theme of IMO. Now, if you look at in 2022, what is happening? The World Maritime theme of IMO happens to be new technologies for greener shipping. So, if you want greener shipping, greenhouse gas emission reduction, it needs to be planned. As it is, IMO has come out with short-term measures, mid-term candidate measures, and the long-term candidate measures. So, what are those measures? How IMO is planning? Briefly, I'm going to discuss during this presentation. So, green transition, the transition needs to be very smooth and slow. IMO cannot take any actions. Whatever it is, the transition will take time. The theme provides an opportunity to focus on the, as you can see, sustainable maritime sector and greener in a post-pandemic world. So here, IMO actively supports greener transition so that moving from fossil fuel to alternate fuels, like the first step is starting using liquefied natural gas on ships, compliance of IGF code, which IMO has brought out in 1st January 2017. So from LNG, with LNG, but still you will be emitting, the reduction of greenhouse gas emission will be just about, say, 25%. That's it. So you need to move on, consider exploiting wind energy, wave energy, solar power, as well as alternate fuels like hydrogen. If you see the long-term target, IMO is now looking at carbon neutral shipping industry. Carbon neutral means CO2 emission should be zero. So what are the fuels they are looking at? Can we use methanol, or can we use liquefied hydrogen, and can we use ammonia, what they call greener ammonia? So this is what they are looking at, greener transition. Maritime innovation, research and development. So new technologies usage. So just as a brushing up IMO, if you just look at IMO, is nothing but United Nations. It is, you can say, the maritime branch of United Nations. Initially, it was known as IMCO, Intergovernmental Maritime Consultative Organization. So it was brought out as a convention. This convention was adopted in the year 1948. As you can see, later in 1958, it entered into force. And the first meeting in 1959, IMO had. So the objectives of IMO is very clear. All of us as seafarers, we all are aware. Safer, secured, energy efficient shipping on cleaner ocean with a cleaner environment. So that's what it says. IMO's work supports United Nations sustainable development goals. So the sustainable, it needs to be continuous. So just looking at the background of IMO, there are 175 members. In this slide, you see 174 member states. Now, in the last 1 year, Botswana of one of the African nation, has joined as 175th member. So IMO has come out with more than 50 international instruments like solar smart poles, so many codes, IBC code, IGC code. Now we have IGF code, IMSBC code. So many codes, and of course it regulates. But what IMO does is only giving guidelines to the shipping industry. But the implementation part of it rests with the flag state. So the individual flag states, they need to comply with the requirements of IMO's convention. So as you can see in this mission statement of IMO is very clear. It's a specialized agency of United Nations, all right. And as you can see, uh, standards of maritime safety, security, efficiency of navigation, and of course pollution control, as well as related legal matters. That's why IMO has got one of the major committee of IMO is legal committee, apart from your MSC and MEPC. Effective implementation of IMO's instruments. So that's the reason now you can see IMO has started auditing flag states by bringing in chapters both in SOLAS and MARPOL, what they call verification of compliance. So IMO is now taking that role also. So in this slide, you can see how it all started. See, look at in 1990, how much is the quantum of cargo carried? I hope you are able to read this. 4,008 million tons of cargo. In orange color, it is given here. And the CO2 emission, how much it is? 562. Whereas in 2020, almost 2 years back, the cargo quantum has increased thrice, three times. 11,019 million tons of cargo. And CO2 emission is staying somewhere around 1,056. And you will see the gradient till 2010 almost, this blue line is your CO2 emission and orange line is the quantum of cargo carried. Both they go hand in hand. The gradient, the angle is same. But at 2009, 2010, with all the new regulations which was brought by IMO as Chapter 4 of MARPOL Annex 6, what they call energy efficiency chapter, with all that, now they are able to flatten the curve instead of now this is the cargo quantum and this is the CO2 emission. So now they are able to make it just to flatten the curve. But the long-term target of IMO is to make the CO2 probably come down to zero. That's how they are now looking at. So these are the measures which we are well aware of. As you can just see, I just put the slide just as a sort of a brushing up. So in 2011, in MEPC 762, your EEDI and the SEAM, all these things were brought in. As you can look at it, Kyoto Protocol, which was not that efficient. In fact, the US pulled out of Kyoto Protocol after signing the treaty. So with reference to climate change, no, this was the first legally binding climate change, the addition of Chapter 4 and bringing in all these EEDI and Ship Energy Efficiency Management Plan, all that in MARPOL Annex 6 in Chapter 4. So what is EEDI? Yes, we all know that. So the factors considered are the quantum of cargo carried and the fuel oil quantity consumed, which directly relates to the CO2 emission from the fossil fuel that we are using, like IFO, MDO, or MGO. And apart from that, the distance traveled during the voyage. So these are the formula is given, and that of course both attained EEDA and the required EEDA, it's always checked. And we always expect the calculated attained EEDA needs to be less than the required EEDA. So that's about EEDA. And of course, SEAM and another operating factor what we are using as of now on board ships is energy efficiency operational indicator, which can be used for any type of ship, whether it is an existing ship or a new ship. So that just enables us to measure the fuel efficiency of a ship, so that in case if we carry out any of the improvement methods like improved voyage planning or underwater hull cleaning or more frequent propeller cleaning, at that point of time when this type of thing, how efficiency improves, or a new propeller fitted, or waste heat recovery system improvements if it is done. So all this is EEY issues which we are very familiar. Now look at what is happening now. COP26, that is a conference of parties. This happened end of last year, 2021 November, where there is climate change conference from United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Scotland, Glasgow. So what they are talking about here, IMO is targeting 50% cut in greenhouse gas emission compared to 2008. At 2050 they are looking at 50. Now the big question mark is why 50? Why not 70? Why not make it zero? That's what they are looking at. So they are going in steps. As you can see, 2030, what is the target set by IMO initially was 40%. And Secretary General of IMO, as you can see, shipping must raise its environmental target. That's what IMO is now looking at. So here there are shipping companies, as you can see here, Maersk and other shipping companies, what they do, developing innovative new builds or refitting their existing fleet. These are all even refitting existing fleet. The new regulations have come now in MEPC 76. They have brought out energy efficiency for the existing ship index, EEXI index, and also we are now looking at staring at what we call CII rating, carbon intensity indicator rating for all ships above 5,000 gross tonnage. And of course, EEXI requirement is a one-time certification for all ships above 400 tons, 400 gross tonnage for all the existing ships. Now, companies are looking at alternate fuel. As you can see here, 8 large ocean-going container vessels being operated on methanol. They call it carbon neutral by 2024. That means hardly in another year or so. So now what they are in IMO is following steps with the United Nations to keep shipping in line with wider plans to keep global warming to within 1.5 degrees centigrade. That's what is the target. Now, as far as shipping is concerned, if you are looking at CO2 emission, only CO2 what we are getting is from the main engine, auxiliary engine or boiler. When the fuel is being burnt there, the emission, say it has about, say, if main engine running or your auxiliary engine running, a continuous supply of about 5% of your exhaust gas composition is your CO2. Or boiler combustion also emits CO2. So if you want to cut down CO2 emission, then you need to cut down the fuel consumption. So how will you do that? So your friction reduction is going to be the target. So as you can see here, design of the ship, operational aspect of the ship, and the economical solutions. They are looking at IMO's greenhouse gas strategy will require a mix of technical, operational, and innovative solutions. So IMO has got short-term measures, medium-term measures, and long-term measures. And of course, ultimate long-term is to make it carbon neutral. Shipping industry should get completely decarbonized. That means CO2 emission should become zero. Now, looking at the ship design, if you just see this is self-explanatory. You can see it for yourself. Up to 75%, your emission reduction will occur when there is an extensive speed optimization. Or if you are looking at hull and superstructure design aspect, when the ship is being built, so that gives a reduction between 2 to 20%. And also, of course, concept, voyage optimization, fleet management, and all that you can see. And one of the things which attracts attention here is look at here, full electric, 50 to 90% emission reduction. LNG and the LPG usage as fuel, that brings down about, say, 35%. Now, we need to understand, even if it is LPG or LNG, many ships have come out now. So still methane is a hydrocarbon, but only thing is you expect about 25 to 30% emission reduction of CO2 by using LNG, LPG, or here they are looking at biofuel. Here they are looking at hydrogen fuel because a lot of R&D is being done in the shipping industry by the engine makers and by the builders. And let me just show some. See, now look at this. This is a bulk carrier which is already in service. LNG fueled bulk carrier. We are using LNG here. This is type C as per the IGC code gradation, categorization. We call it type C LNG pressurized tank. Pressurized means not to what pressure we'll be able to keep it, say, somewhere between 10 to 20 bar, so that maintains, the cargo is kept somewhere at about minus 110. Otherwise, if it is going to be like membrane tank in a LNG cargo tank, then it is going to be atmospheric pressure means minus 161 degrees centigrade. But here we are keeping somewhere around 10 to 12 or up to maximum not more than 15 to 20 bar. So you get a benefit. Instead of minus 161, you maintain it at minus 110. Of course, this tank is made out of the right material. See here it is manganese steel or Invar steel. Of course, you need to have insulation, the developments of vacuum insulation, all that helps here. So likewise, you can just see this particular ship. It's a very large crude oil carrier already in service. So this particular ship is having a capacity of 3,750 cubic meter of LNG as bunker fuel. The ship has got 2 tanks on the deck in front of the accommodation. As you can see, this ship is already in service. And or you can just look at this particular ship. It's a LNG powered container ship. It's a massive, say about 23,000 TEU. The capacity of bunker tanks is about 6,801 cubic meter of LNG. And as I have said, usage of LNG is only the initial step. Reduction of only you get about 25%. But our focus is to completely decarbonize. Means what you need to go further. Should we use ammonia as fuel or methanol as fuel? Yes, methanol. I mean, ammonia fuel is being tried out, and probably new ships will be coming out. A lot of research and development is being done, and they are looking at using green ammonia concept. NH3, that's what we need. Nitrogen from atmospheric air and H3 from the water. The processing will be done, and green ammonia concept is being pursued. And a lot of R&D is being done. And the ultimate thing is, as you can see here, zero emission hydrogen fueled bulk carrier. Now, this particular ship, as you can see, with Arga, this is powered by nature. This vessel is expected to enter into operation, as you can see, in 2024. But here, what about this? Is carbon? This is completely decarbonized. This is a carbon neutral, because you are going to use hydrogen as fuel. As you can see, zero emission self-discharging hydrogen fueled bulk carrier with Arga. That's the name of the ship. So it is designed by Norwegian Ship Design. As you can see, it enters into operation in 2024, hardly after about a year or so. Fully zero emission in all operations. So it will be powered by hydrogen. The vessel will also have a fuel cell system for energy production in low load conditions. That's what they claim. So 88-meter long and 5,500 ton vessel. So it will be harvested directly from the wind through large rotor sails. Yes, you can see those rotor sails here. One in the front. This is what we call Flettner wheel. One right forward here, one up. So these are all the exploiting wind energy, exploiting wave energy. The vessel also has the ability to store excess energy in batteries. This type of developments, greener energy concept is taking place. Now, if you just go back, let's just briefly look at MEPC 75, what it said, short-term measures approved. So what they were talking about in 2023, you need to get for all the existing ships of 400 gross tonnage and above, your EEXI certification should be in place. Now we hardly have 3 months to go, 1st January 2023. And again, the comparison is 2008, what it was compared to that now 2023. One is your EEXI certification. EEXI certification by having retrofits, adding shaft generators, or reviewing the waste heat recovery methods, or VFD installations, variable frequency drives, or propeller cap-in bus. This type of propeller bus cap-in, this type of arrangements to reduce the fuel consumption, and looking at, these are all for the existing ship as a retrofit. What you will be able to review and improve upon. That is what is your EEXI certification. And when you are looking at CII, carbon intensity indicator, a lot of operational issues like hull cleaning or propeller polishing, voyage planning, weather routing. These are all the operational issues that is going to put your vessels, graded, after the survey. Your vessel will be graded either, as you can see here, A, B, C, D, E. If you are A, B, C, you are all right. That means your attained EEXI is less than the required EEXI. In case if you get D or E, that means you need to do some review. As you can see here, if your attained EEXI is less than the required EEXI, you are all right. So your EEXI technical code and your International Energy Efficiency Certificate, that's what we are talking about here, IEC. But in case if your attained is more than the required, that means you are emitting more CO2. So then what needs to be done? So you are going to have engine power limitation and propulsion optimization, engine optimization, energy efficiency technology, sales or fuel change, or any such thing the ship owner of an existing ship. You have to consider, and of course your flag state and your class involvement will be there, guidelines to the ship owner how to improve things so that reduce CO2 emission. Now the midterm measures, as it is between 2023 up to 2023, SEEXI and CII, and beyond 2023 and 2030, this is how they plan. So effective uptake of alternative low carbon, zero carbon fuel, which I have mentioned just now. and operational energy efficiency measures, a three-step approach to indicate and enhance energy efficiency performance. Of course, market-based measures for emission reduction mechanism, so that to incentivize, so that the ships emitting less CO2 needs to be motivated. They need to be, the ships to be given some sort of an incentive. So these are all the things in the pipeline, but which they have recently reviewed. And by 2000, beyond 2030, as you can see, this is what they call long-term measures. Pursue the development of zero carbon or fossil-free fuel. Yes, I have mentioned it already. Fossil-free, that means 100% decarbonized. So that you use hydrogen, you use ammonia, you use methanol. So, of course, consider other possible innovative emission reduction mechanism. Okay, now in November 2021, if you see, MEPC 77 went on. Here, IMO had agreed to revise its strategy, review, and adopted revised guidelines to its short-term and mid to long-term greenhouse gas reduction measures, and had held short of committing, as you can see here, zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050. So, as you can see, short of committing to the goal of complete decarbonization by 2050. Now we are 2022. That means 2030 review, 2040, 2050, probably by 2050, they may get rid of fossil fuels like IFO, MDO, MDO. This is what is the plan. Now, if you just look at the 78th session, which was done between 6th and 10th of June 2022, your MEPC in IMO, they have just looked at these are the points discussed during the session. Revision of initial IMO greenhouse gas strategy, of course, they reviewed and revised, and midterm, the new proposals, and updated guidance, your EEXI, CII, already I just mentioned it, calculations, and reporting of EEXI and CII values to the data collection system of IMO. You know that is already there from March 2018. This is in line with what we call EU MRV. You know, as far as the European Union is concerned, the European Council has come out with the regulations that you need to have EU MRV in place, and then you need to have, document of compliance under EU MRV. Your IMO data collection system is very similar. There they call it DOC, but IMO calls it SOC. So apart from that, in this session, the other thing is, as you can see here, the entire Mediterranean Sea is going to become an emission control area. So that means from 1st July 2025, this is what is discussed. So as of now, as far as emission control areas under MARPOL Annex 6, if you are looking at, we are having both the European emission control areas like your English Channel, Baltic Sea, North Sea. Apart from that, we also have North American emission control areas, both East Coast and West Coast of North American continent, that's Canada and US. Now they are going to include Mediterranean Sea also as emission control areas. That means even your engines, main engine and auxiliary engine, when you enter these areas, you need to have Tier 3 compliance. As of now, your engines are Tier 2. Any engines installed on board ships after 1st January 2011, you need to have, as per your engine, your IAPP, EIAPP, your engines are given as Tier 2. So from Tier 2, when you enter emission control areas, you need to go in Tier 3. That means you need to have already selective catalytic reduction or exhaust gas recirculation as a standard units for all the ships that are delivered after 1st January 2021. Now this Mediterranean Sea is also going to be included. Of course, you have time now, 2025. And of course, guidance on your exhaust gas cleaning system, the discharges and residues. That is another issue with many coastal states, they have already stopped. So those are the issues discussed. And of course, this has, again, your anti-fouling system convention and banning cybertrain, like how it was done some years back, your TBT, tributyltin. The same thing is happening to the chemical cybertrain now. So paint manufacturers have already taken note, and this enters from 1st January 2023. And of course, one more thing, if you are looking at the flashpoint, needs to be mentioned in BDN, and it needs to be very clearly given. Flashpoint has been measured at or above 70 degrees centigrade. So earlier it used to be 60 degrees. So these are the issues in 78. That's a recent committee discussion in June 2022. Now, if you are looking at CII and SEAM, they are talking now enhanced SEAM, or you can say updated SEAM Part 3. So what they say, all affected vessels means any vessel above more than 5,000 gross tonnage, you need to have CII rating. EEXI certification for all ships above 400 gross tonnage. So here what they say, all affected vessels must update their SEAM to include Part 3 to establish ship operational carbon intensity plan. So you need to get updated confirmation of compliance. You see, COC they call it, confirmation of compliance, by 31st December 2022. Many shipping companies, my fellow superintendents, and they tell me that they are doing overtime, getting all this done, certification, things like that. And what are the deadlines we need to note? EEXI technical file to be approved. As you can see, first annual, intermediate, or annual IAPP survey, or the initial international energy efficiency certificate, which is very specific certificate required for Chapter 4 of MARPOL Annex 6 on or after 1/1/2023. Apart from that, SEAM Part 3 to be approved on board by 1/1/2023. Hardly 3 months we have. And based on the data what is collected during 2023, your CII rating, based on this data, first reporting due not later than 31/3/2024. That means the end of 2023, you will have the data, and they have given 3 months, January, February, and March. So you need to have the first reporting. These are the deadlines as of now, gentlemen. And the short-term measures as of now, if you are just looking at the short-term strategy, what IMO had earlier has been reviewed and revised with a minor fine-tuning they have done. They are talking about EEXI, we are talking about CII and SEAM, enhanced SEAM. I mentioned it already. And another thing is draft amendment in appendix zones of Annex 8, reporting of EEXI and CII values to data collection system. Now this needs to be done. And of course, revised guidelines they have given for how to calculate EEXI and CII calculations. And of course, correction factors and voyage adjustments are also added. For example, ship is waiting in the port waiting time. And of course, due to adverse weather conditions, if there are some variations, they're taking that also into consideration while doing the calculation. That is addressed here in this discussion. Guidance on methods, procedures, and verification of in-service performance measurements. And in case where speed power curve is not available or sea trial report does not contain the EEDA or design load draft conditions, in case if that happens, then the ship speed, that means the reference, your reference speed can be obtained from the in-service performance measurement method for the purpose of EEXI calculation. So these are some of the guidelines, they have given how to have some additional guidance for calculating basically EEXI. Okay, now apart from that, if you are look at mid and long-term measures, increased level of ambition were considered. As I have said, the ambition, the long-term is eventually to make CO2 emission zero. So also to work together across sessions to develop concrete proposal for revising the initial strategy by MEPC 80. Now 78 just concluded. I think June they will have 79, MEPC 79, and end of next year they will be having MEPC 80. So they want to focus more on needs of developing countries, especially small island developing states. So these are the issues which they have discussed for reduction of greenhouse gas. And before I close, if you just look at what are the proposals which is in the pipeline of IMO during discussion. First thing, they are looking at levy system. That means how when we drive a car in the highway, we keep paying in the toll booth. So likewise, a levy system based on from the well where the oil well to the propeller wake, greenhouse gas emission. So that is to be determined by IMO. These are all in the pipeline, which is going to be coming as of regulations maybe at a later date. And also a tax levy system based on the CII performance. Suppose where ships with CII performance below a benchmark, as you are aware now, in the ABCDE rating, you need to get either A is the best, B is the next one, and C is the pass mark. In case if you get D or E, below a benchmark, pay a contribution per ton CO2 emitted more excessive than what is stipulated as a benchmark by IMO. The ships with performance above the benchmark receive a reward. That means, the ships which are emitting less CO2, they need to be rewarded with an incentive. That's what they are talking about. This contribution is determined by IMO, while the reward depends on the level of achievement of the fleet. A levy system, again, tax-based, a tank-to-wake CO2 emission, where the revenue and partly used to provide a direct rebate to zero-emission vessels. That means when vessels are coming out with zero emission, they need to be naturally, the incentive has to be given to this type of ships. That CO2 price and the rebate, what is to be given to those type of ships, to be determined by IMO. These are all in the pipeline of IMO meeting. And a cap and trade system, we had it. This was initially brought during Kyoto Protocol, in cap and trade system, carbon credits and this type of thing. So here they are talking about an emission cap and trade system similar to the European Union ETS, where the well-to-wake greenhouse gas emission level is set by IMO and allowances are auctioned out. The carbon price is then determined by the market. So these are the what they call MBM, market-based measures, which IMO is now considering. It is being discussed at the MEPC 78 as of now. Probably in 79 or coming 80, they will come out with concrete regulations, like how they brought your EEXI and CAA regulations in MEPC 76. So, gentlemen, this is what is happening in IMO. As you are aware, IMO is determined as a long-term effort to completely decarbonize shipping and coming out of greenhouse gas emission. So, eventually, you are going to have the usage of more of solar panels, wind energy, wave energy, ammonia as fuel, LNG as fuel, and of course, the liquid hydrogen technology. These are all the greener trend what IMO is now looking. So, gentlemen, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you.